Good evening, Metal-O-Maniacs. Tonight we're going to do something a little bit different. I would like to take you on a journey with me to a year gone by. 40 years gone by, as a matter of fact, to 1980, you guys, man. And my hope is that this will not just be a musical journey, although it will certainly be that. I mean, this is a musical show, Metal-O-Mania. So we will use the hard music of the year as our guide, and we are going to sprinkle in the details on top of the whole entire year along the way. We've used movie clips and TV clips and ads and pretty much, news clips, anything we could find from 1980, and we've put it together in, as best as I could, a chronological package for you, starting in the very end of 1979 and going to the very end of 1980. And it's a two-parter, and I hope you'll bear with me because we made it thick, man. But my hope is that you guys will not just hear the music and watch the sights, but I hope to take you back there. I hope this is a little time capsule journey for us, man. Let's get in a time machine together. Let's go back to 1980. Let's get a little escape from 2020, 40 years ago. Because as they say, the past is prologue.
Hi, I'm Billy Crystal, and ready for them or not, the 80s have arrived. We traded in our old running shoes for brand new cowboy boots. We learned a lot of new words this year, words like gridlock and ab scam, billygate and boat lift and pyramid parties and freebasing.
This picture tells it all. This flag was apparently taken from someone's office inside the United States Embassy. It was burned Tuesday evening outside the embassy's gates. To the Iranian demonstrators who set fire to it, this was a symbol of victory. 2 days earlier, several hundred young people, mainly students at Tehran University, had taken over the embassy. We are not occupiers, they said. We have thrown out the occupiers. But instead of chasing all the Americans out of the compound, the Iranians imprisoned them in a building somewhere on these grounds. They have been hostages ever since. This morning, for the first time since the hostages were put under lock and key, one of the captives, blindfolded, was brought out into the open.
He is Harry Rosen, the embassy's press attaché.
He was turned to face reporters and cameramen and several hundred Iranian demonstrators outside the embassy's gates. "Yankee, go home," they cried, but they made no attempt to harm him.
Which are filled with a rare krypton gas. Considering that they're lit for 6 hours each year, these balls are going to last us another 6,000 New Year's Eves. Oh, it's so exciting!
Over there, everybody over there. Come on, get up and join me.
My goodness, I can't believe it. It looks like we're getting ready to let this ball go. The crowd is going crazy.
9,
Everybody's there. It's a happy New Year.
5, 4. Everybody sing.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year. Sing it out.
Ladies and gentlemen, Super Bowl 14 is history. The Pittsburgh Steelers are the champions of the National Football League for the second straight year.
Sure, Sir Isaac Newton unraveled the mysteries of gravity, but could he have unraveled the mysteries of Rubik's Cube? 3 weeks ago, Judge Smith retired to her chambers with Exhibit A, Rubik's Cube. She hasn't been seen since. Warning, once you get your hands on Rubik's Cube, you may never be able to put it down. Rubik's Cube, over 3 billion combinations, but just one solution from Ideal.
Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, members of the 96th Congress, fellow citizens. This last few months has not been an easy time for any of us. As we meet tonight, it has never been more clear that the state of our union depends on the state of the world. And tonight, as throughout our own generation, freedom and peace in the world depend on the state of our union.
And that's one to grow on.
Our aim is He told me you killed him. No. I am your father.
It's not true. That's impossible.
Howdy, welcome to the 80s.
Hi, this is the 80s.
Welcome to the 80s, everybody.
Talking about the world. It belongs to you. I know. It belongs to me. I'm waiting for the A's flag to be alive. I'm waiting for those magic numbers to arrive. I've got myself together, got myself in here. I'm gonna be the first out there to treat the vacuum machine.
In the year 1980, the average cost of a new home was $68,700. The average annual wage for an American was $19,500. The price of a gallon of gas was $1.03. A postage stamp cost 15 cents. A loaf of bread cost 48 cents. A movie ticket cost $2.69. And the American minimum wage in 1980 was $3.10 an hour.
It was a rather routine FBI undercover investigation of a stolen property fencing ring. But what was routine for the FBI soon became extraordinary. The FBI says it found an organized crime informant who told the FBI about dealings with dozens of politicians in a number of states and in Washington, D.C. After the FBI agents had left his home this evening, Senator Williams had this to say about the investigation.
Just a few minutes ago, two members of the FBI were here, and for the first time I learned about this and really don't know any of the facts of anything, and therefore I'm in no position to comment about what I don't know is happening at the department, but the department evidently has told you a lot more than they've told me.
You're not the target of an investigation, Senator? Can you say that you're not the target of an investigation?
Right now it appears that I am, and that's about all for now.
So far, no one has been indicted or convicted or even arrested. Today was just the windup of the undercover phase of the abscam investigation. Later this month, prosecutors will present their evidence to federal grand juries in Washington and elsewhere.
Tuesday on Three's Company, Jack finally gets a job at the city's snobbiest restaurant, and his premiere performance brings down the house. And on Too Close for Comfort, Ted drives his daughters out.
We'll find an apartment somewhere else.
And it backfires.
I can't believe our daughters moved into this neighborhood.
Then, on Heart to Heart, a lovely lady wrestler
Hello, Close.
wants to get her arms around Jonathan.
Jonathan!
But maybe it's to kill him.
Comedy and adventure, Tuesday starting at 9 here on ABC.
Tuesday on Happy Days. This is finally it.
Life as I know it is over.
The Fonz is head over heels in love. Then the Good Time Girls are making whoopee.
Excuse me, but some of us are still eating.
And on Three's Company,
I only get 1 meal a day where I live.
a younger man is taking Jack's place.
Singer of the rock group AC/DC was found dead last night in a parked car in South London. Scotland Yard said the body of 30-year-old Bon Scott was discovered by a friend who had left him in the car hours earlier to sober up after a day's drinking. We talked to Rick Davies of Capital Radio in London, and he filed this report.
The friend who discovered Scott being unconscious, Alistair Kinnear, said that he met up with Bon to go to a music club in London, the Music Machine, last night, but he was pretty drunk when I picked him up. Then Scott apparently got there and they drank several more whiskeys. Scott's known for having been a heavy drinker, and also in 1973, when he was still in Australia, he was forced to stop singing for a while because of his drug problems. So yes, the suspicions are that this was the result of some heavy drinking.
ABC Video Enterprises presents The Miracle of Lake Placid.
The games began on a blustery winter's day at the Lake Placid Horse Show grounds with the traditional ceremony, the passing of the responsibility and honor of staging the games from Innsbruck to Lake Placid. A 44-year-old psychiatrist from Arizona, elected by his fellow torchbearers, experienced the unexpected moment of a lifetime as he touched off the Olympic flame. When asked what message he would give his fellow runners, he said, "I would tell them that I love them." It was the first of many unexpected moments and many expressions of love that would mark the Games of Lake Placid. The opening ceremonies are always a time for nostalgia and expectation. We thought of other games in other places, Innsbruck and Mexico, Grenoble and Munich and Montreal. And we wondered, would there be another Olympics? As the Americans entered, we were reminded that this was special, a home game for the United States. We picked their faces from the crowd, little Beth Hayden there, faces full of dreams and hope on that bright day. That's big brother Eric, favorite for 5 gold medals, the almost frightened look of Linda Fratiani, a lovely girl from California. Some of the dreams seemed only that, like the ski racer coming back from a shattered ankle, Phil Mayer. Cindy Nelson was here for one last great effort. We watched and we thought of all the places we had been and all the places they had come from. From around the world of winter sport, they had converged on this tiny pinpoint on the map to participate, first of all, and perhaps to leave with something more than a memory, with glory and a gold medal. There was a story to be told, and the athletes would write it.
11 seconds. You've got 10 seconds. The countdown going on right now. Morrow up to Schultz. 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe it, Don? Yes!
This is Bo Duke and Luke Duke. They're cousins. They fight the system.
for stopping and which zone is for loading?
Listen, Betty, don't start off with your white zone shit again.
In 1979, Afghanistan was already reeling from a violent coup. The new communist leader, Hafizullah Amin, had plans to westernize a largely Muslim country and quickly became the target of a widespread effort to remove him from power.
He was a citizen!
None of this sat well with the USSR or its powerful chairman Leonid Brezhnev, who feared that the uncertainty in Afghanistan would diminish the Kremlin's influence in Central Asia. Soviet troops arrived on Christmas Eve of 1979 to back the counterinsurgency and dug in for war.
Soviet troops were all over the place in Afghanistan today.
The action was met with condemnation from all around the globe. U.S. President Jimmy Carter issued an ultimatum.
And I have notified the Olympic Committee that with Soviet invading forces in Afghanistan, neither the American people nor I will support sending an Olympic team to Moscow.
Brezhnev didn't back down, and the Moscow Games proceeded with the smallest turnout of any Olympics in decades. And while the boycott had widespread international support, many athletes bristled, feeling like the Olympics should transcend politics.
You can look anywhere around the globe and you'll find a problem where help is needed, where we could jump on a bandwagon, if you like. And I think it's just a little unfortunate that we've chosen now the Olympic Games to have a go at.
In response to that boycott, the USSR counter-boycotted the 1984 Olympics in Los Angeles. The country would eventually return to Olympic competition in 1988, but Soviet troops remained in Afghanistan until '89. Some estimates put the number of deaths during that conflict at nearly 2 million people.
Where's Andy? He's already going.
This is the penitentiary, New Mexico, which in the course of a February weekend in 1980 was the scene of the most brutal riot in American prison history.
All the forces of hell were unleashed, and it happened right there.
On the night of Friday, February the 1st, 1980, there were 12 officers supervising 1,157 inmates. Or so it was estimated. The exact population was not known.
It was 1:45 in the morning. That's when we came out to the hall, and we saw literally hundreds of inmates just pouring out of the dormitories.
And we watched a guy being held up by two individuals. And he was standing, basically looking like he was looking out the window, but he's not looking out. And they had a torch, and they just started cutting on his face with a torch. And they started working on his eyeballs with a torch. And all of a sudden his head exploded. Well, I guess the gas is building up with the heat of the acetylene.
This individual came up in front of us and was literally holding a human head.
I am not an elephant! I am not an animal! I am a human being!
there's anybody back there.
No one is sure how she did it, but this unknown runner came out of nowhere ahead of all the other women.
I just saw someone stumble out of the crowd in front of me across the street. This was on Commonwealth Ave, probably about a half mile from the finish. She was in track clothes and wearing a number, but I thought someone had just sort of stumbled into the race. Maybe somebody was a little crazy or something.
What nobody knew yet was that 6 months before, Rosie allegedly took a subway to the finish line of the New York Marathon. So this was actually her second ruse, and she almost pulled it off. Her big mistake was coming in first. The media rushed to her side, but soon it became apparent that she was a not-so-great imposter.
We're here with the women's winner. She's getting a case of the sneezes. Rosie Ruiz? Sorry. Rosie Ruiz, the women's winner in the Boston Marathon today with a time of 2:31 and change. Now, we don't know how many seconds that is. It may be a new American record. What was the time in your first ever marathon, and where was it?
It was 2 hours and 56 minutes and 33 seconds in New York last year.
And so you improved from 2 hours and 56 minutes to 2 hours and 31 minutes.
I guess so.
What do you attribute that improvement in time to?
I don't know.
Have you been doing a lot of heavy intervals?
Someone else asked me that. I'm not sure what intervals are. What are they?
Well, intervals are track workouts that are designed to make your speed improve dramatically. And if you went from a 2:56 to a 2:31, one would normally expect that you do a lot of speed work. Is someone coaching you or advising you?
No, I advise myself.
Well, it was a fantastic performance, Rosie. Congratulations. Rosie Ruiz, the mystery woman winner. We missed her at all our checkpoints. She came through the finish in a fantastic 2:31. We have to confirm that time at this point, but she was way ahead of the world-class field here today in the Boston Marathon. Thank you, Rosie.
Thank you.
In the end, she was disqualified from both races and is now merely a bizarre footnote in marathon history.
The night of April 24th, the night the state lottery paid a record $3.5 million in prizes, the fix was in.
The perpetrators nearly got $2 million of that jackpot for themselves in what would turn out to be the biggest lottery scam ever.
It's like Ocean's 11 or whatever. They wanted the big score.
And what is more, they nearly pulled it off.
Perhaps 1 million people watched this crime being committed. No one saw what was really happening that night.
Good evening, everyone. It's time for the live drawing of the Daily Number, Thursday, April 24th, 1980.
The first number to hit was 6. The second number, also 6. Then the third number came up.
And there you have it, today's Pennsylvania Lottery Daily Number. That's 666.
The winning numbers, 666. But even before the show was over, there were rumors in the gambling underworld that the drawing had been fixed.
There was a lot of noise, I was told, out on the street about the fact that there had been some tampering with the lottery.
I'd like to say to all my friends that I continue to claim my innocence through all this that has happened, transpired.
I don't think anybody thought it was going to be a slam dunk. Mr. Perry was a very well-recognized personality, both in western Pennsylvania and also in central Pennsylvania.
I do believe that he felt that there was a chance of acquittal just because he was so popular.
Exemplary citizen, a citizen of the city of Pittsburgh and the Commonwealth all my life. Attended church, sang in a choir for 50-some years, directed the choir for 20-some years, and I can't get a bail. Can't understand it. Thank you, Judge.
On May 11th, 1981, the trial of Nick Perry and Edward Plevel began at the Dauphin County Courthouse in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
The testimony showed that Nick Perry was actually the mastermind, that he came up with the idea. He approached all of the other parties. He approached Edward Plevel, and he approached the stagehands.
Every other member of the conspiracy ended up testifying against him. We had phone records which corroborated the contact between the people.
On May 21st, 1981, a Pennsylvania jury found Edward Plevel and Nick Perry guilty of having rigged the Pennsylvania State Lottery. Edward Plevel got 2 to 7 years in state prison, was fined $1,000, and ordered to pay $2,500 in restitution. Nick Perry was sentenced to 3 to 7 years in state prison, fined $3,000, and ordered to pay restitution of $35,000.
Definitely. What is up with it? Are you kidding? When is there a Greek who can't adjust? Shame on you, Sandy.
What we're dealing with here is a complete lack of respect for the law.
Nobody else can see you the same way as myself. Fly high and touch the sky, you're the angel I adore. If only you could feel for me that I feel for you. Why do you ignore me, angel? I can't go with you. You're an angel witch. You're an angel witch. You're an angel witch. You're an angel witch. The more love I feel for you, the more you fade away. Why can't you come and love me? Do I have to stay this way? I'm gonna go insane if nothing happens soon. I look out at the night to see a shut up by the moon. You're an angel witch. You're an angel witch. You're an angel witch. You're an angel witch.
I like to play with things a while before annihilation. Pathetic earthlings! Who can save you now? Flash!
The US delivered power to its ally, the Shah of Iran, receiving oil concessions in return. For nearly 30 years, the Shah enjoyed the spoils of office and became less and less tolerant of dissent, using the feared Savak secret police to intimidate opponents. But by 1979, the groundswell of dissatisfaction had become a tidal wave, and students, religious reformers, business people, and the intelligentsia united under the leadership of religious nationalist Ayatollah Khomeini. The Shah was toppled from power and fled to Egypt, but Iranians were furious when he was allowed to enter the United States for medical treatment. The decision was made to kidnap the American diplomats in retaliation. 13 women and African Americans were released early into the crisis, and a diplomat diagnosed with multiple sclerosis was sent home on humanitarian grounds. But the remaining 52 people stayed in custody for 444 days. During that time, President Jimmy Carter authorized a rescue mission codenamed Desert One. But the high-risk operation ended in disaster with the loss of 8 soldiers and the smoldering wrecks of 3 military helicopters. The bad press of the hostage situation directly contributed to Carter's election loss. Despite his best efforts, the hostages were not released until Ronald Reagan took office in 1981.
It was my decision to attempt the rescue operation. It was my decision to cancel it when problems developed in the placement of our rescue team for a future rescue operation. The responsibility is fully my own.
5 years later, officials in the Reagan administration were found to have illegally sold arms to Iran. It was later alleged that some of those involved in the arms negotiations had earlier been working covertly with the Iranians to stall the release of hostages, so Carter's presidency was undermined.
In April last year, 146 holidaymakers were killed when their Dan Air Flight 1008 crashed on its approach to Tenerife. 15 months later, the report into the crash has still not been published. Senior British civil servants were in Madrid last week trying to persuade the Spanish government to rewrite it, amid accusations from both sides of political interference and of attempts to shift the blame. Now, the cause of that crash is of vital interest, not only, of course, to those whose friends and whose relations were killed, but also to millions of holidaymakers who hope to fly safely this summer.
On the afternoon of April the 25th last year, Dan Air Flight 1008 smashed into the side of a mountain known as the Little Devil. The flight had been carrying 146 people, most of them holidaymakers bound, they thought, for a couple of weeks in the sun. It was Britain's worst air disaster.
Uncle Scooby? Hi, I'm Scrappy-Doo. Scrappy-Doo? Let me at him! Let me at him! Let me at him! Let me at him! Scooby! Scrappy-Dappy-Doo!
press room of the Sheraton Center Hotel, site of the negotiations, leaders of the major unions in the city and state joined in a scare tactic, warning of a possible general strike in support of the TWU.
Is it being actively considered? I spoke about it. I spoke about it.
As a potential reality?
As a potential step along the road of our shutting off and bringing this city back to a normal operation.
That would bring it back to a normal operation?
Yes, it would. Yes, it would. Because then the powers that be are going to take note of what could possibly happen, and they're going to have to come up with something reasonable.
Intensifying hostilities between Iran and neighboring Iraq are now spilling over into the 160-day-old hostage crisis. A spokesman for the militants says the hostages' lives would be in grave danger should Iraq attack Iran. This because, according to the militants, Iraq is a puppet of the United States. That warning comes at a time when Iran is sending a naval force to the Persian Gulf near Iraq following fierce border clashes, and in what could be a prelude to spy trials for the American hostages, Iranian television broadcast a film showing what it said were two captives describing espionage activities by the occupied U.S. Embassy. The Iranian broadcast did not say when the film was made, but American officials insist the equipment shown probably was routine radio and television equipment. When President Carter broke off diplomatic relations with Iran and imposed economic sanctions, he also called upon our allies to join the boycott. On Thursday, the president got lukewarm support at its very best. Both the Common Market and the 21-Nation Council of Europe issued statements demanding the immediate release of the hostages, but none of our allies said they would join in the boycott. In fact, Japan said it will not support any U.S. requested sanctions against Iran, which may endanger its vital Iranian oil supply. Without mentioning them by name, President Carter criticized some of this country's allies for seeking U.S. leadership and protection and then begging off when asked to help out in a crisis. Mr. Carter told the American Society of Newspaper Editors that some nations are wary of the obligation of alliance.
Nations ask us for leadership, but at the same time they demand their own independence of action. They ask for understanding, yet they often decline to understand us in return.
The president also accused the Soviet Union of appalling inhumanity in Afghanistan. He said he will take legal action if need be to keep American athletes from attending the Summer Olympic Games in Moscow.
And when the city is dealing with someone,
That's our report for tonight. Thank you for joining us. We'll all be black next. We'll all be back next week, and I'll be black. We'll all be back, though. It's not my night.
They tell me by showtime the temperature will be down to 95, and plus they've got the ice on the stage and the fans behind them, so they're going to be blowing the symphony players and keeping them cool. Cheryl?
But get out your pencil and add a new star to your maps.
Oh.
A new moon discovered by Voyager 2 around Uranus. This is the 6th moon of the 3rd largest planet, and discovered by Voyager 2. They named it 1985 U1.
Number 1, Paul Guidel, Jr., 68 years, 245 days. At the age of 86, Guidel Jr. was paroled from his conviction for the murder of 73-year-old William H. Jackson in 1911. Guidel was only 17 years old and working as a bellhop at the time of the murder. Jackson was found to have been suffocated to death. 2 days after the crime, Guidel was arrested and initially sentenced to 20 years in prison. Unfortunately, his time in custody was extended after doctors determined him to be legally insane in 1926. He was moved to Dannemora State Hospital for the criminally insane, where he remained in custody until 1972. It wasn't until August 1974 that Guidel was granted parole, but after spending 63 years imprisoned, he opted to remain in prison for another 6 years, fearing he wouldn't survive on the outside because he didn't have any friends or family. Guidel eventually became a free man on May 7, 1980, and died at the age of 93.
The whole story of the World Health Organization smallpox eradication campaign, I think, is one of the most amazing and moving stories in 20th century medicine.
This is one of those great endeavors where human intelligence and goodwill across the world came together.
When the eradication program began, we were losing 2 million people a year to smallpox. And remember, only a third of the people died. A lot of other people horribly scarred, and then many of them were left blind.
At the time the smallpox eradication program started, there were 5 regions of the world that had smallpox.
It was a crusade. They were inspired, not only by one another, but by the fact that, my goodness, we can actually get rid of a disease.
We chipped away at it with our Indian team until we were able to show that we were containing more outbreaks than we were getting new ones. And that was the tipping point. I think that last year was probably the most incredible public health story that I have seen in all of global health history.
Across the world, we had managed to go from 10 million cases and 2 million deaths a year in just 10 years down to 0. You feel pretty good about it.
Good news from Geneva. The World Health Organization has made it official. Smallpox throughout the world has been virtually eliminated.
The Norco branch of the Security Pacific National Bank, located in the city of Norco in Riverside County, California, about 50 miles east of the city of Los Angeles. On May 9, 1980, one of the most daring and spectacular bank robberies to occur in the United States took place here. 5 heavily armed men would commit a robbery at this bank that would result in 2 of the suspects being killed, 1 Riverside County sheriff killed, 8 other police officers wounded, 33 police vehicles damaged or completely destroyed, 1 sheriff's jet helicopter shot down, and numerous civilians shot at. Gunfire would damage several private cars and homes. The leader of the armed robbers was this man, George Wayne Smith, age 29.
Burke headed a gang, or crew as the mob called it, that was involved in bookmaking, cigarette smuggling, loan sharking, and their most profitable venture, hijacking merchandise from JFK International Airport. It led to the biggest heist in U.S. history.
The robbery of the Lufthansa cargo building was the brainchild of a Lufthansa cargo worker.
Krugman took the idea to Henry Hill, a close confidant of Jimmy the Gent. The plan was to rob Lufthansa Airlines of the cash in their high-value storage area. This money came into the airport from Europe, destined for U.S. banks. The robbery went off without a hitch. The group escaped without detection. Burke had expected perhaps a few $1 million from the heist. What they came back with was over $5 million, plus foreign currency, unset gems, and jewelry.
I don't think anyone had any idea that it was going to be that much money.
This small band of wise guys had pulled off the perfect crime.
Would send detectives out, have a cocktail, go in with a girl, sit down, start talking to certain people, and I would say within 24 hours we had the whole story. I think collectively they had the IQ of an ashtray.
You know, the greed overtook him, and he went completely insane, you know, and I guess he had a lot of influence from the other bosses of the family, because they figured it was just easier to kill all the other people rather than to give them their fillets. Rather than give them $400,000 or $500,000 apiece, it was easier to put a quarter bullet in the head, you know. So he started eliminating everyone at that point.
In the spring of 1980, they finally got the big break they'd been waiting for.
Henry Hill, who was a very close associate of Jimmy Burke's, was arrested by the Nassau County District Attorney's Office on 6 narcotics cases.
Though he was facing a lifetime in prison, Hill still had to be convinced to turn state's evidence against his crew. Although there was not a conviction for Lufthansa, Hill's testimony did lead to 2 convictions for Jimmy the Gent Burke. One for a basketball point shaving scheme. the other for the murder of a man named Richard Eaton. Capo Paul Vario was also convicted on charges of racketeering.
I like the way the line runs up the back of this stocking. I've always liked those kind of high heels too, you know. No, don't take them up, don't take them up. Yeah, that's it. A little more to the right.
Everybody
Action 5 News at 6. Well, at 6.
No, how am I going to get a countdown?
Yeah, you need a count.
Sure. I mean, it's 42 seconds. I'm going to do a guess when it's over. I mean, we go through this. Bill, we go through this every week, and this is the last week I'm going to go through this. I mean, if somebody's assigned on this show as a stage manager, then somebody can be here. Every week is the same story. I don't mind it once or twice, but it's enough.
The man is listed in serious condition. No, he's not. He's listed in fair condition. We really don't know what the hell we're talking about. Please turn over to the CBC. Thank you.
Leisure suit, if I can say it. Leisure suit.
Leisure suit.
Leisure suit. I can't even say it. How can I read the story?
Well, tomorrow is your last chance to register to vote in the presidential elections, November 8th. Registration closes at 9 o'clock tomorrow night. Until that time, you can register at any public library, the Board of Elections, any post office, and at some fast food restaurants. You can't vote if you're not registered.
The president also is expected to discuss his agenda for the remaining 17 months of his presidency.
Here is Magic. 39. He's still perfect at the free throw line.
I think he might be the favorite in L.A. for a few weeks when he gets home.
Very little left to conquer. We'll talk to Magic Johnson. There it is, it's over, and the most valuable player is Magic Johnson. 42 points, 15 rebounds, and 7 assists. He starts at center, plays forward and guard, and leads the Los Angeles Lakers to a world championship 123-107 over Philadelphia without Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And the Lakers have announced that they'll have a victory rally at noon tomorrow in the parking lot of the Forum. And the disappointed Philadelphia 76ers head back to their locker room with a tired and deservedly so Magic Johnson. And the Lakers going inside after wrapping up a world championship in 6 games in Philadelphia over Billy Cunningham and the Philadelphia 76ers.
And now it's time for America's favorite daytime fun show, Let's Make a Dope Deal. Yeah, it's Let's Make a Dope Deal, where young pushers try to parlay their stash into that really big connection and jump up into dealerhood. And our first contestant today on Let's Make a Dope Deal is former head of the philosophy department at Harvard University. He is the holder of a PhD, an MA, a BA, and is a BMF besides. Would you please give a big warm welcome for Bob Bitchin? Come on, let's have a hand for Bob Bitchin. Here he is all the way from Harvard, Bob Bitchin. Well, it's really great to have you on the show tonight, Bob. How you doing?
Bitchin'.
Bitchin'. Well, isn't that far out and solid and right on, Bob? Tell us, Bob, here's the question I ask of all our contestants. What made you drop out?
Well, a lot of people think it was the 400 acid trips they took, you know.
Uh-huh, but what was it really, Bob?
One day I played Black Sabbath at 78 speed, man.
And then what happened?
I saw God.
You saw God. Well, that sounds like true enlightenment to me, Bob. Tell us, Bob, what have you been doing with all those degrees? I noticed you had a PhD, an MA, and a BA. What have you been doing with all that knowledge?
Making candles, man.
Making candles. Well, that sounds creative, Bob. What kind of candles are they?
Oh, they're really neat table candles, you know.
Table candles?
Yeah, you pour wax on a table.
Uh-huh.
And you set it on fire, man.
Well, that sounds like a hot item, Bob. Okay, you ready to play our game?
Yeah, man.
Okay, here we go. Now, you know the rules. You get fronted with a stash of 50 keys, and you can wager part of them or just some of them on any one of our tests.
50 keys?
50 keys.
Can I quit now?
No, not yet, Bob. You have to play our game. Okay, Bob, how many you want to wager on the first test?
All of them.
All of them is going to shoot the works, or main line,
man.
as we call it here on Let's Make a Dope Deal. Okay, Bob, for 50 keys. What is your name? You have 60 seconds.
Hey, I know that one.
Starts with a B.
Then what is it, man?
I knew it when I came in here, man.
Ends with a B.
Oh, don't tell me. Happy birthday.
10 seconds, Bob.
Bob!
Bob! And you win 50 keys for the tensions found here on Let's Make a Dope Deal. Oh, boy, Bob, now you have 100 keys. Almost did. Okay, here we go for the second plateau. How many keys do you want to wager this time?
All of them.
All of them is going to shoot the works again, huh? What balls he has. Okay, here we go, Bob, for another 100 keys. How many joints are in a lid? 30 seconds.
Oh, I know that one. 2.
40, I think.
Yeah, I rolled big joints.
Our judges say that's okay. They roll big coins too, and you win another 100 games. Boy, the pressure's building. Here we go, Bob. Okay. Okay, now we're going for the big and final test. Okay, in front of you, you see 3 doors marked door number 1, door number 2, and door number 3. Behind one of those doors, Bob,
number 3,
is
man.
50 pounds of Lebanese blonde hash. Makes your eyes red just thinking about them, huh? Okay,
Number
Bob,
3,
I'm going to make you
man.
do it. I'll give you $50 and 50 reds for your keys right now.
Oh, take the red.
No, I'll give you $1,000 and 50 reds.
I want the hash.
He wants the hash. Okay, Bob, here we go. Now I must remind you that behind the other 2 doors are narcs. Okay, Bob, here we go. What'll it be? Will it be door number 1, door number 2,
Or what?
narcs? There's 2 narcs behind the other.
I'll take the bread, man.
I'm sorry, Bob, it's too late. You have to choose. What'll it be? 1, 2, or 3?
Number 3.
4. No, Bob, there's only 3. I know, you're nervous. Okay. 1, 2, or 3? 2, 1. 2, 1.
Oh,
What?
number 3, man. Number 3.
1, 2. 3, 2, 1. Let go. One. Black light, no tap backs. Okay. You chose door number 1. Let's see who's behind that door. It's Officer O'Malley, the FBI. You're busted.
Number 3.
Join us next week when we play Let's Make a Dope Deal.
Would you like to be the President of the United States?
I really don't believe I would run it, but I would like to see somebody as the president who could do the job, and there are very capable people in this country.
Most people who are capable are not running for office. Most men are frightened of politics today.
It is a shame, isn't it?
Yes.
It is a shame. The most capable people are not necessarily running for political office, and that is a very sad commentary on the country.
Now the world don't move to the beat of just one drum. What might be right for you may not be right for some. A man is born, he's a man of means. Then along come 2. They got nothing but the genes, but they got different strokes it takes. Different strokes it takes. Different strokes to move the world.
What you talking about, Willis?
In December 1979, Arthur McDuffie went for a late-night motorcycle ride. He failed to stop for a red light, resulting in a high-speed police chase through the streets of the Central District. According to the police report, McDuffie was injured crashing his motorcycle, then violently resisted arrest and was taken to Jackson Memorial Hospital.
What did he die from?
He died as a result of blunt head injuries with destruction of his underlying brain. He was beaten to death.
How hard would someone have to hit someone to inflict such an injury?
Amazingly hard.
Some of the officers were charged with manslaughter, others with tampering with evidence. One was charged with second-degree murder. The prosecution's case was supported by statements from other officers who had been at the scene that night.
I've given statements to the state attorney's office, and I do plan to testify.
Were you given immunity?
I was today, yes.
What are you guilty of?
I witnessed the incident. I helped cover it up. I lied to the Internal Review investigators investigating the incident.
On May 17, 1980, the jury gave its verdict.
Madam Clerk, publish the verdicts.
We, the jury at Tampa, Hillsborough County, the 17th day of May, 1980, find the defendant, Alex Marrero, as to second-degree murder, as charged in count 1 of the information, not guilty. We, the jury at Tampa, Hillsborough County, the 17th day of May, 1980, find the defendant, Ira Diggs, as to manslaughter.
The policemen were cleared of all charges.
Not guilty. So say we all.
The death toll now stands at 11, with more than 120 persons injured in the riots, looting, and fires of last night and today. Affected areas are still reporting sniper attacks, and from almost any point in Dade County, smoke from burning buildings can easily be seen. A curfew has been ordered for tonight. More on that shortly. First, 2 reports on damages.
Helicopters on surveillance missions. Residents, frantic that their homes might burn, called fire and police stations, but to no avail. Those residents, the fire department says, will have to fend for themselves until it's determined that it's safe to go in. Property damage, already estimated in the millions, is bound to climb higher as those fires burn, and there will be no way to count the injuries to life and limb until emergency vehicles can re-enter the fire zone. Mary Nissenson, Channel 4 News.
Several returned to their shops only to find that their entire inventories had been stolen. Many looters were stealing merchandise in broad daylight. The businesses hardest hit were those owned by non-blacks, and the damage in this area alone could reach well into the millions.
I don't think that looting, burning up the streets, and breaking up the communication with the white and the Latins that we had in the past with this looting will help anything. It would just make it a lot worse.
Businesses in the Allapattah area had just started flourishing economically. But one merchant estimates that this 20-square block area that's mostly black will be set back some 10 years. Bob Jackson, Channel 4 News in Allapattah.
This word just in. Police have just reported that 2 police officers have been shot. One of them, a Miami police captain. His name has not yet been released. We understand he is now undergoing emergency treatment at Cedars of Lebanon Hospital. His condition and details of the incident are not known at this time.
Me first was my idea! It was not!
I didn't think that fried chicken would make it through the night.
Can't blame him. That Puritan oil so light it really lets the flavor come through. Should I tell them what's more important to me than great taste? That Puritan's made with sunflower oil so it helps in our diet to fight cholesterol? Nah, let them think it's just great tasting chicken. I know it's more.
Puritan oil, great taste and more.
Hey, where's my piece?
In here, Mom.
I thought so.
Maybe I'm dreaming. I'm not dreaming.
Errol King needs Coast Deodorant Soap. The Eye Opener. A crisp, exhilarating scent and handfuls of bubbly lather make you feel more than clean. Refreshing Coast. It actually brings you back to life.
Do I feel good today?
How are you getting to work today?
Backstroke.
Bring yourself back to life. Coast Deodorant Soap. The Eye Opener.
The eruption of Mount St. Helens on May 18, 1980, was one of the most dramatic geologic moments in American history. It was a Sunday morning, 8:32 a.m. Vancouver, this is it, was the excited call on the radio from David A. Johnston to his colleagues. Within minutes, the colossal eruption had caused hundreds of millions of dollars in damage, and 57 lives were lost, including Dave Johnston.
Got up to the point where we could really see the mountain well, I suppose between 9:20 and 9:25, something like that. There was this terrific, very vigorous vertical eruption column that was the stem of the mushroom or the toadstool that then blossomed out at greater height. And for most of the morning we saw this tremendous ash cloud roiling out toward the northwest, and I can only assume that that was coming off of the big pyroclastic flows that were going off in that direction that later built the pumice plain. It was a very eventful morning, but it was sobering because I remember thinking up in the airplane that Dave just couldn't have survived this, especially when we got around to the west side and saw all this ash headed in his direction.
The sequel to Star Wars is here. It's called The Empire Strikes Back, and George Lucas has the story.
This wasn't your usual Hollywood premiere. First of all, it was in Washington, not Hollywood, and there were no searchlights, no long lines of Rolls Royces disgorging celebrities left and right. The actors featured in The Empire Strikes Back were also there, posing for pictures and signing autographs. But as any Star Wars addict knows, it's not the actors, it's the special effects that steal the show. And a lot of people have been wondering whether the producers could top the technical razzle-dazzle of the original Star Wars. They have. The movie is filled from beginning to end with elaborate special effects such as this battle between the good guys and the bad guys, armed with huge walking tanks.
Go now. All right, coming in.
And in the final moments of the movie, a lightsaber duel between #1 bad guy Darth Vader and #1 good guy Luke Skywalker. The movie is pure escapism, no big social message. But these days, with the way the world is, there's a lot to escape from. So it's a good bet that many Americans this spring will be going to that galaxy long ago and far, far away. George Lewis, NBC News at the Kennedy Center in Washington.
Okay, you just came out of the movie. What do you think?
It was a fantastic movie. They cut it short, though. There was no real ending to it, but it was a great movie. Great movie. A lot of things happen fast. A lot of things happen very fast.
Do you think you'll see it again?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I loved it.
Cindy, you saw the movie. What do you think?
I thought it was real good. Real good. A lot of new characters. Very interesting.
Okay. Did you see Star Wars?
Yeah.
How many times did you see it?
Just once.
Do you plan to see this one again?
I don't know, maybe. One more time. You don't want to spoil it too many times, though.
Okay, thank you.
That was great. It's the best sequel yet, I swear to God.
Are you planning to see it again?
At least 5 or 6 times. I saw the other one 8 times. I'll probably see this one just as many. It's great.
Thank you. What do you think of the movie?
Wow, phenomenal. Really a lot of underlying meanings. That hit home a lot closer than like the first movie. And just like the ending was a lot different from the first movie, and a lot, You know, there's a lot more tearjerker almost at points there, and it was good. I'm still so much shaken from the movie. It's pretty good, really good. I saw Star Wars about 4 times, and this is probably matched the same amount of times at least. But it was really great. Really loved it.
So you will see it again?
Oh yeah, no doubt. Thank you.
Okay, Bill, let's try that. Okay. I'm going to ask you for, how long have you been waiting here?
About 10 minutes.
Oh, so this is not a big deal.
No, we cut in line.
How'd you cut?
We've been here since 12:15. 12:15. I don't know. They were going to sit. That's why they only been waiting 10 minutes. We've been here since 12:15.
How can you stand in line if you've been, how can you cut in front of all these people?
Because we wanted to sit down with her. We had her sitting down over there at the button.
Oh, I see. Thank you.
Sometimes if you heard what people think.
Cute, except he's scratching his head.
No flakes, but that itch could mean dandruff.
I think he needs Head and Shoulders.
Even if you don't see flakes, even if nobody tells you, your itch could be telling them you've got dandruff. But Head and Shoulders every time handles that itch, treats hair gently, so all people notice is healthy-looking hair.
Nice guy. Nice hair.
Head and Shoulders, 'cause that little itch should be telling you something.
Wait! Don't rush your weekend. 60 Minutes is on at 10 on 12.
Mike Wallace, Morley Safer, Dan Rather, and Harry Reasoner. 60 Minutes. Perhaps the finest hour on television.
Sunday at 10 on 12.
Perhaps the most tragic story of all is here in Lima, Peru. 2 years later, the Cubans who were the genesis of the Mariel exodus are now the forgotten ones. Theirs is a canvas ghetto springing out of the mud. Home is the tattered tents of Tupac Amaru Park. More than 300 live here in legal limbo. No country has really claimed them. They are part of the hemispheric solution to the storming of Havana's Peruvian embassy. But their pathway of freedom slammed shut as Castro swung open the gates of Mariel. Hundreds planning brief stopovers in Peru, Spain, and Costa Rica are still there.
At this point, there is no lawful way for a person who is not a political asylee to come in as a relative of a Cuban Haitian entrant. If in fact Congress passes this legislation that the President has proposed, there then would be a way in a few years.
The logistical nightmare that was Mariel is blamed for pressing this nation into a state of compassion fatigue, leaving our immigration policy in shambles and questions surrounding the traditional open arms policy toward Cuban refugees.
Daly goes to the puck. Took a hit from Nystrom. 4-4 tie, 7 minutes gone in overtime. Henning. Pass right on the stick of Tonelli. Coming in with Nystrom. Tonelli to Nystrom. He scores! Bob Nystrom scores the goal. The Islanders win the Stanley Cup.
Well, Bob Nystrom has a habit of getting overtime goals. Listen to the fans.
Let him yell. Let him enjoy the moment. Well, to a man that flies
Next gentleman, you all know. It's hard to... first of all, we're all extremely glad that he is here tonight. He is an extremely talented man, and one thing you can say about Richard Pryor, he is a survivor. And when he is on, I don't think there's anybody who is funnier or more inventive than Richard Pryor, and we're just delighted he is here tonight. Would you welcome Richie Pryor? Good night. Come back here. And also, I probably should mention the first black admiral in the United States Navy. Welcome back to the world, my friend.
Thank you.
They all mean it. You know, I don't know where to start. First of all, how you feeling?
I feel...
Don't do that to me. When you walked in, I wanted to go over, and I really wanted to put my arms about you, and as soon as I did it, I said, my God, he could be in terrible pain, and he won't say anything.
People, I went out to a nightclub here in L.A. one time, and people beat me to death.
Right.
I mean, Richard! My man!
Good to see you back. You don't need that, huh?
Oh, man. I'm just happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Are we happy to have you here?
Thank you.
Yeah, how long ago was it? I mean, I'm trying to get the date.
17 years.
Since the accident?
Yeah,
it must seem like 17 years sometimes.
It's a long time ago.
You know, I was surprised that actually it was very, very touch and go. There's no secret about it, that when the reports came out in the paper, they were very apprehensive whether you were gonna make it.
I watched myself on TV. They said I was gonna die. I had a TV in my room, and I hit the button, and I turned it on, and they said, Richard Pryor's dying.
That ain't the happy news, is it? You want to hear?
I said, oh my God. I hope I die before the 11 o'clock.
Don't need that again, huh?
It was something. I was in the hospital. It was funny. When I got to the hospital, I damn near ran to the hospital.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know that, seriously, I have Olympic records coming.
You got it.
Because I was running so fast, Johnny, I ended up running with myself. I was actually running beside myself, talking about pace. Because I was trying to get help.
Yeah.
And I got to the hospital, and I was just hysterical. You know, you get what they call shock.
Yeah.
And I was in shock, and the doctor grabbed me and said, do you know who I am? No, I'm Dr. Grossman. I'm the best. Don't worry. And steam was coming off my body, you know. I said, no, I'm over.
And he's giving you credit,
Yes,
huh?
I said, don't worry. Yes, it's fine. Just please. And I couldn't take nothing for the pain, you know. For about 5 weeks, I was in the hospital. And finally, one day, a nurse said to me, why don't you ask for something for the pain? I said, what? He said, all you have to do is ask. I said, wait a minute, man, I've been here 5 weeks talking about ooh and ah, and all I had to do was ask. They said, yeah, and I had them shoot me up for 6 more weeks.
This sword here at my side don't act the way it should. Keeps calling me its master, but I feel like its slave, hauling me faster and faster to an early, early grave. It howls like hell. I'm told it's my duty to fight against the law. That wizardry is my trade, and I was born to wade through gore. I just wanna be a lover, not a red-eyed screaming ghoul. I wish it picked another to be its killing tool. Black, black, forged a billion years ago. Black, black, killing so its power. To the end of time, and I'm the cosmic champion, and I hold a mystic sign, and the whole world's dying, and the burden's mine, and the black sword keeps on killing till the end of time. Kill my
I just learned that TV stations send out a separate signal so that sets with a VIR circuit like this can translate the picture impulses into the same color they see. Most low-price sets don't have it, but most new Curtis Mathes sets do. Studio color right in your own home is another reason Curtis Mathes is the most expensive television in America, and another reason it's darn well worth it.
Please flip the tape over to side B now.
And thank you for watching part 1 of our 1980 special. Please stay tuned. We have part 2 coming for you tomorrow night. Or if you're watching this on demand, right now, why wait?